Australian journalist and UFO investigator Ross Coulthart, who famously brought to light the very first interview with UFO whistleblower David Grush last summer, 2023, right, on News Nation. He has just said in a recent episode of his podcast, it's called Need to Know, that he co-hosts with Bryce Zabel. He basically states that new UFO whistleblowers are going to be coming forward very, very soon. In fact, potentially in the next few months. And these are not just any UFO whistleblowers, right? These are firsthand witnesses, he states, that currently work in the UFO legacy, crash retrieval, and reverse engineering program of the United States government. So let's dive in and take a look at this clip and see what else he says. I've got my own thoughts on this because I really just want to start defining what firsthand knowledge and firsthand witnesses, like what does that mean to people? Does it mean the same thing as what we're all thinking? So anyway, I've got some thoughts on that. I've also got a second clip from the podcast where Ross is going to talk about a new report from the Department of Defense, basically sort of outlining the UAP reporting issues that they have within the government and how that contradicts with some statements that Sean Kirkpatrick has said. So, as always, links in the description if you want to check this out without my commentary, as always. And let's dive in. If you're new to the channel, y'all, and you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. We put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day, and our next goal is 25,000, so let's see what we can do. If you can, hit that like button, y'all. That really helps out the video, so thank y'all so much for all the support there, vetters. And, of course, comment down below of what you think of Ross Coulthart's comments about these new whistleblowers that are going to be coming out in the next few months. Very curious to hear your thoughts on that. And don't forget, I put a poll out on Vetted yesterday to see what video you wanted to see, and this is the one you chose. Well over 1,000 votes, so here you go. Now, the other three topics that I mentioned in that poll, don't worry, I will be probably covering those as well, potentially. So we'll see. Anyway, let's dive in. All right, first clip here. Let's just get to it, right?
My question is, can you tell us anything that you're working on? And if not, can you at least tell us how you work on it and whether we should expect to see more things coming up on News Nation?
I think you are going to see a lot more coverage. This year is going to be, and I know everybody rolls their eyes at this year is going to be a very...
So real quick, that's just some issues they were having with their video on the podcast. So that's not me. I can't help it. It is what it is. And real quick, I'd also like to apologize for the audio in yesterday's video. Yes, it was bad. I honestly don't know what happened. I uploaded it, just did that. I don't know. Like, my raw file of it is fine. The recording was fine. It's fine now. I don't know. So whatever. It happened. I almost pulled it down, but I thought it's still listenable. It's mainly the clip. So anyway,
interesting
let me
year.
Rewind this.
This year is going to be, and I know everybody rolls their eyes at this year is going to be a very interesting year. There are reasons why it's all going dark. The reasons are, firstly, yes, I've made no secret of this. I'm talking to people who purport to be working inside the legacy crash retrieval reverse engineering program. Yeah, the one that Dr. Kirkpatrick says doesn't exist. The simple fact is, those people have got a very clear message now from the Pentagon and the intelligence community that we don't have your back. That despite what Congress has very clearly laid out in legislation, that there should be no criticism, no attacks of people for coming forward about illegal programs that have been concealed improperly from Congress. It's been made very, very clear by the Pentagon's person who they appointed to investigate UAPs that we are going to bully and intimidate you if you try and come forward. That's the very clear message and perception that I take from the way that Dr. Kirkpatrick has behaved himself in the last few weeks. All he's done is go out on a media rant which is designed to intimidate people from feeling they cannot feel okay about coming forward. As I say, it's not going to work, but I also urge patience from people out there. I've actually had people threatening me, saying, tell all, reveal everything you know, or we're going to attack you. And I think, well, big fuck you. The simple fact is, this is methodical, plodding work. We're entering into the boring phase of investigation. It's checking sources, verifying information, doing the homework, the very thing that, frankly, a lot of the critics say we never do.
So real quick, just so I don't get lost here, I guess my question is, shouldn't they have already verified these sources? Shouldn't that have already been done? Wouldn't you do that before you put your whole career behind it? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what he's saying here. Are you double checking it? Just, crossing your T's, dotting your I's? Or you haven't done that yet and now you're doing it? I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. I guess I'd be curious to hear just a bigger explanation of that. Because again, why wouldn't you be have already verified these sources? Another thing I was quickly thinking is how can these whistleblowers come forward? Like, in the sense, again, I'm just asking a question. I'm just thinking here. I'm just, raw thoughts. Would it be so secretive? Like, wouldn't they be so monitored? Right? Like, it's so stovepiped, I thought, and it's just not really that many people know about it. It's like, hey, we got a leak. Like, wouldn't you pull everybody in a room and, like, figure that out? Who's leaking? Right? Like, this super secret, and there's so many of them that are leaking. I just think, like, wouldn't they be monitored? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just curious. Curious how they go about that, right? Like, how? Because again, as I'm going to talk about later, I really want to know what firsthand witness means. What does that mean? All right. So anyway, let's continue.
It's not an entertainment, this. This is really serious. It's checking sources, verifying information, doing the homework, the very thing that, frankly, a lot of the critics say we never do. It's not an entertainment, this. This is really serious. If this is true, if this story is true, it is the biggest story in human history. If it's true, everybody from the president down are concealing knowledge of a non-human intelligence engaging with this planet. I happen to think it is true. And I'm having sources telling me this on a repeated, regular basis. And where we're at the moment is we're dancing a very delicate dance. We're trying to find ways for these people to safely bring that information forward. And I can't reveal a great deal, but you are going to see some very interesting stuff coming forward in the next few months.
Look, I just don't know why they wouldn't come out, right? Already. I got one more clip I'm going to show y'all. So I just don't understand, like, come out safely. Like, why did Edward Snowden come out? Why have other whistleblowers? They just break the law, man. They just release that stuff and get it out and go. And it has nothing to even do with UFOs. Like, is there not one person that's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go out with this stuff and share it. I'm taking a picture today of that UFO, man, and we're getting it out there. I just find it odd that not one person has come out, regardless of their safety. They just, like Edward Snowden. That guy didn't know what was going to happen to him, and he's, you know what I mean? He was just a contractor guy. I just can't believe we haven't had one person that's worked on this program that's just like, screw it, I'm going out. I'm going to say something. Now you say, well, what about Bob Lazar? Okay, fair point. Fair point. If that's the truth, right? So I don't know. Maybe they have and nobody listens, and that is also true, right? I guess there have been people that have come forward and told these, pretty insane stories. And I don't know. I guess I'm thinking it through here, right? Yeah, maybe that's true. I don't know. Again, I just wonder why nobody has just come forward with all the evidence, right? Like Edward Snowden had all these files. Name a bunch of different whistleblowers that don't have to do with UFOs, right? So I don't know. I don't know. I definitely find that odd. But again, my biggest question is the firsthand witness, the definition of that. I would really like to get that defined. I tweeted at Ross Coulthart, and he didn't, respond. Now, granted, that was today, so maybe I haven't seen it and that sort of thing. So if I hear back, I'll respond. But I'm curious what he means by firsthand witnesses. He says it earlier in this interview. I don't know if he said it in this clip, but he says it earlier in the podcast. And again, I've heard that described, right? Firsthand knowledge. What does that mean exactly? Because if you remember correctly, David Grush's firsthand knowledge was leaked, right? I made a video about it. I'll put a link in the description. You can find out more about it. That was leaked, and basically, and that's what's going to be part of his op-ed, but that was already leaked, like what basically was what's going to be in there. And basically what David Grush's firsthand knowledge is that there was a UAP program that he was read into that they could see UFOs through satellite video and imagery and knew where to look and that sort of stuff and crash retrieval. So they're not actually seeing it with their eyes in the sense like real. It's through image, video. Okay, that's fine, but I'm just saying, where's the dudes who've put their hand on the craft, who've been inside the craft, who broke open the craft, who you know what I mean? Where are those guys? Let's get those guys. Granted, again, you've got someone like Bob Lazar who has said that. We just need more, I guess. I don't know. Bob Lazar doesn't really want to testify, regardless of the reason why you think and this, that, the other. But we need to define what firsthand knowledge actually means. Because I know a lot of people were saying, if David Grush's firsthand knowledge is this UAP program that looked at, right, crash sites from satellite imagery, is that the crash retrieval program we're talking about? I don't know. And that the UFOs had a specific frequency and that they knew what that frequency was and they could find these UAP flying around our atmosphere. That's David Grush's firsthand knowledge, supposedly, right? That he stated in a leaked presentation. Again, I'll put a link in the description. You can go check it out. I know a lot of people are like, man, if that's his firsthand knowledge, that's not a good sign, right? Is that what the crash retrieval program is? It's just people looking at these pictures and these satellites and they found crash sites, but we actually haven't gone to them? I don't know. But again, you hear these stories of, no, we have craft. We've broken inside of them. We got a TARDIS craft that is bigger on the inside than what it is on the outside, right? It's the size of a football field when you walk inside. Those people need to start coming forward because I don't know where else do we go from here, right? The only thing left is people who have touched the craft, aliens, all of that. That's what I consider firsthand knowledge and witnesses. So I don't know. I just want to make sure that just hasn't been clearly defined, right? What is firsthand knowledge? What is secondhand knowledge? What is thirdhand knowledge? Like what does this mean to these people? It doesn't mean the same thing, right? When Jeremy Corbell says it, when Ross Coulthart says it, when Luis Elizondo says it, when David Grush says it, when whoever says it, are we meaning the same things? Right? Because I think there's a lot of assumptions there, just like the term biologics, right? That's been heavily disputed. David Grush using the term biologics, right? And Diana Pasulka, sort of revealing in her interview on the Joe Rogan Experience that one of her sources, Tim Taylor, right, this NASA guy, was making biologics in space and bringing them back. And that was biologics. And people, and she went on to double down and be like, that is what David Grush is talking about. In her Unraveling the Universe interview, right? So it's interesting. It's very interesting. Like, again, I think maybe some of us are just getting confused on those terms. But again, to David Grush's defense, he has used the term bodies, alien bodies. In testimony, when the congressman said bodies, he said yes. In a backup interview that he did with Ross Coulthart and Bryce Zabel, he said bodies, specifically bodies. So, I don't know, man. Again, I just think, I don't know, y'all tell me in the comments, what do you think about that? What does firsthand knowledge mean to you? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm assuming wrong. I just assume that's what most of us think, that it's someone who, again, physically has put their hand on the craft, physically with their own eyes seen it, not seen a picture, not seen a video, not seen satellite imagery, nothing like that. I'm talking boom. It's right here. I can touch it. There's the craft. Right? And it's proven to them to not be man-made. How do you even prove that to somebody? Right? People you bring in, like, how do you prove it to them? Maybe it's just so crazy looking, you just think, well, there's just no way we made this thing. I don't know. And I guess if it did, if you walked inside of a TARDIS craft, right, it's 40 foot on the outside, but when you walk in, it's the size of a football field, that's pretty convincing. If you saw an alien body, that's pretty convincing. Right? So, again, I just think getting that term figured out is kind of important. And, yeah, I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks, if y'all also assume the same thing, or if I'm alone here in that. So I think it helps to have these terms defined when they're used so much, right? So that way we know we're talking about the same thing. Because, again, these statements, and I know this video, this is going to excite some people. I can already tell some comments are going to be like, oh, great, coming soon, few months. I get it. I totally get your frustration. Like, I totally get it, right? So with that said, let's make sure we're all waiting for the same thing, because that's an even worse rug pull if it turns out, no, by firsthand knowledge, we meant this. Everyone's going to be like, what? So anyway, and I think clearly defining what UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, what that means. Is it the same program? It's two different programs? How many are there? Because we hear stories that there's so many different ones, right? Lockheed Martin's got one, Boeing's got one, our government's got one, other people got one, the CIA has one, FBI has one. You hear about all these, I don't, So just curious, just so I know what to set my expectations, basically, right? So anyway, let's watch this next clip. Again, I'll just play it so you can hear it.
And I mean, I just wanted to finish today, Bryce, by pointing to the fact that there's one other news event that occurred in the last few weeks that really does deserve scrutiny. The Office of the Inspector General of the Defense Department came out with a fairly boring sounding report, but nonetheless a report that made a momentous finding. It essentially, the Office of the Inspector General for the Defense Department found that the Defense Department has a lack of a comprehensive, coordinated approach to address UAP, and that may pose a threat to military forces and national security. Now, that's a finding from the Office of the Inspector General of the Defense Department. And yet, in this very month, we've had an official of the same Defense Department splenetically ranting that there's nothing to this UAP nonsense. There's a blatant contradiction right there in plain sight. And that's why we need to know.
We do need to know. I think it's the greatest title out there. I've loved that our podcast can be called that. And the irony, I think, that you and I have talked about many times is, if you just listen to anybody else's podcast or watch any interview done on this topic on television or radio, inevitably somebody who's being interviewed will say, I mean, we need to know. It comes off out of your dialogue so effortlessly, because it is exactly what people think. The people who are listening right now and people who are listening to everybody else's podcast all feel the same way. They feel like they have a right to know, yes, but they have a need to know, because this is something that's gone on too long. And whatever relevance there was to not leveling with everybody is no longer part of that equation. We just freaking need to know, and the time is now. So thanks for letting us play a little song and give us a little music into our lives. But remember, you still do need to know, and that's still our job. So we'll see you next time.
So they did play a song. I guess they released some song called "Need to Know" that Bryce Zabel co-wrote with some L.A. singer-songwriter. And listen to it. Yeah, it's not bad. Honestly, it's not bad. It's a good little tune, good production, good voice on the singer. So yeah, it's a good song. It's cool that they wrote it, and I can respect the passion. And I've written lots of songs myself. Not very good. I'm a amateur musician for sure. There's something to it. So like, I get it. I support it. I'm all about it. The artistry. Anyway, yeah, to explain that last clip real quick. I mean, look, he's right. I mean, say, whatever you believe, we got aliens, we don't, whatever. That's true. There are conflicting statements from our government, which is, again, what makes it so suspicious for some of us who are like, something's going on. Right? Because you have AARO, again, the All-Domain Anomalous Resolution Office, run by Dr. Kirkpatrick, started by the Department of Defense to study UAP, right? Take over from the UAP Task Force, the other UFO program that existed before, and it sort of formed into AARO. Okay, they're going to take this serious. They're going to do this. They're going to get to the bottom of it. And to be honest, it was a complete shit show. The website was horrible. It was a joke. The website was a joke. I mean, honestly, a teenager could have put something better together. Now, I'm not saying that's all Kirkpatrick's fault, but it is the fault of AARO as an office, and it is the fault of our government for, whether it be the DOD or the Pentagon or whoever was controlling that, whatever they had to make sure they get that happen. The reports they put together, the cases they looked at. I mean, it was they just did not take it seriously, man. They just did it. And I think that should have been Dr. Kirkpatrick's. If I was him, that's what I would have said. Guys, we need to make this the most detailed, like we need to really go out so that there's no excuse for what we're doing, right? Have an awesome website, have cases and this and that, right? Like, perception is reality. And the perception was it sucked. And again, even if you didn't believe or whatever, everyone thought it sucked, right? Because it did. And you just have these conflicting statements because, again, you've got the government coming out and saying, hey, listen, we don't have a good way to report about UAPs. Meanwhile, while AARO is still operating, right? So what does that tell you? Because even though Dr. Kirkpatrick left at the end of the year in 2023 here, there was still a new assigned person running AARO who actually people are getting behind. So maybe AARO is going to be something different. But regardless, that office is still functioning, right? Operating. And they're like, we don't have any good report. It's like, what about us over here, right? Because apparently they're just not doing a good job of it, right? So how can you not have a good reporting system, but then rely on AARO's findings? Right? It just doesn't make sense, right? And again, just to be fair to this situation, right? They talk about, in this episode, they really go in on Dr. Kirkpatrick and all of that. And I didn't want to play that because I covered that with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and all that. But, if you check out this podcast, that is a lot of what they talk about. Sean Kirkpatrick's op-ed and all the interviews he's doing and, right, all of that. So, but there is some conflicting reports, something that just came out recently. Again, just to be fair, Dr. Kirkpatrick said that he wished he would have been able to do more media during his time at AARO, more media interviews, right? But he wasn't allowed. And then they come out, their spokesperson comes out and says, we approved every one of Dr. Kirkpatrick's requests for interviews. So, like, what's he talking about? Right? Again, even his own supervisors are not, their statements conflict, right? So why? It just goes to show, it's not to necessarily say they're lying or this person's lying, but it just goes to the fact that the coordination isn't right and that nobody's on the same page, right? Because I think even if you're just a hardcore skeptic, I don't know how you want to defend AARO and Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Again, I'm not calling them the names people use and call them different. That's not me. Okay, I'm not calling anybody names, period. I'm sure Dr. Kirkpatrick is a great family man and takes care of his family and whatever, like the accusations thrown at him are crazy. Now, granted, he's also said some things that deserve to be responded to. And so I get people's reaction towards him as well, but just not go too personal, like with his family and stuff. It's like, then you can't complain if that's happening to you. I see that happening a lot. I mean, there's people calling for Dr. Kirkpatrick's death. Let's be real. That's nuts, y'all. Come on. I don't care. In my opinion, this is me. I mean, calling for the death of somebody is like insanity to me. You may not like what happened. What if he's just being used? Dr. Kirkpatrick, right? That's thrown around in the UFO community all the time. What if he's being, and again, I'm not defending or attacking. I'm neither. I'm telling y'all how I felt about Arrow. Yeah, dude, I don't think it was right. And I think Dr. Kirkpatrick made a lot of mistakes, but not to the point where I want him beheaded, for Christ's sakes. I mean, that's just insanity. Absolutely not. Of course not. I wish no ill will upon that man. Do I hope he can, reflect upon this and look at the mistakes he made? Yeah. Do I think he will? Probably not. I think he's got his mind made up, and yeah, he's a little probably, who knows, honestly, at the end of the day. To be frank, all we should focus on is that he's gone and they got a new guy in and just move past it, with him. But again, Arrow and that whole system, that just was not good. I don't care where you stand on the subject. It just was not a good program. He did not run it well. The way they conducted the interviews, again, they half-assed it. They didn't take it seriously enough. And then you want people to take your findings serious. It's just not how it works. That's why they should have just gone full tilt all the way on it. Complete dedication to finding the truth. Exhaustive, and then people would have been like, well, you would have just had more people behind you, maybe trying to understand the results, of your investigation, right? So I don't know. That's all. That's just what I'm saying. But attacking him personally and that stuff, calling him names, I don't know. I'm not down for that. Y'all do what you want. That's up to you. That's just not how I play the game. But I hope he's able to reflect and think about, doing it differently if he ever got a chance again, because he's still a consultant with Arrow. So I hope he takes that to account. So anyway, let me know in the comments, y'all. For tomorrow's video, I'm thinking of doing Stephen Greenstreet's The Basement Office new episode. Not a lot of people, but some of you have mentioned that you want to see me do an episode on that. And let me know. It got some votes in the poll today. So let me know what you guys think in the comments if you want to see me do that. Again, I like to cover everything on the show here, right? Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everything that I put on. I pick it apart, right? I ask questions about it. So, and to be fair, I actually had a couple questions about the video that I thought were, I don't want to use the word inaccurate because that's what Stephen Greenstreet is looking for, right? Show me the inaccuracies in my report. You could define it as an inaccuracy. So if I do the video, I'll talk about it. And to me, it's a pretty big one, if I'm being honest. So we'll see. We'll see what everyone says. If they want me to do that video, I will. And I'll go over what I think is that inaccuracy in that report. And maybe there's a better word to describe. But definitely some stuff that's off for me. And some stuff that was omitted from that video that I think, I wonder why. Why was it omitted? Because I think it's important. So if I do that video, I'll show a special clip that I want to show of Stephen Greenstreet that I think should have gone in there about, this video. So anyway, let me know in the comments. All right. So anyway, thank y'all again so much for watching this far. Hope y'all enjoyed Ross Coulthart's video. It was a great idea. I really enjoyed putting out this poll and asking you guys what video you want to see. I really enjoy that. So you're going to see me do that more, not every day, but I'm going to do that every once in a while to get y'all's feedback because I do want this to be kind of go both ways. But generally, the way I like to run it is just do things that I find interesting, right? And then, just do it that way. It's just much easier for me. But every once in a while, absolutely want to hear feedback of different stuff you want to see. And really, anytime you can put in the comments, hey, man, what about this? What about that? If it rises to the top, if enough people bring it up or comment, then I'll do it. Then I will. I do want to give you guys some videos that you do want to see. I make a video every day, so we can allow that. So no problem. We're team effort here, vetters, and I love that. So cannot wait to read the comments on this. This is going to be an interesting one for sure. So thank y'all again for watching this far. Again, we'll see you tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. As always, remember, vetters, every day's a gift. Peace.